it never ends. As long as there's a stage for me and work to do, I will always be a happy guy. Nights off are awful for me. Nights off, I sit in hotel rooms, eat my mind, jack off like a fiend, and wait for the next day on stage. And so, I finished the tour in Auckland, New Zealand a few weeks ago, and I had a little bit of time. And so I realized that was my time to go to Southeast Asia. And so I went from Auckland, New Zealand to Bangkok, Thailand, from Bangkok, Thailand into Laos. And I've wanted to go to Laos for a very long time. And I hired a tour guide for my 4 or 5 days in Laos. Easily one of the most insane and inspiring men I've ever met in my life. His grip on English, not so good. So what he would do is he would teach himself English at night in his hotel room and then use it on me in the morning. And he would yell phrases at me that he made up in the laboratory of his mind. And he would never speak. Rarely would he speak. He'd only yell and lunge at me when he'd speak. And he was very intense and very kind of spasmodic. And so on day 2, I walk into the lobby and there he is, kind of like crouching. I'm like, okay, weirdo. What's this going to be? And I said, hey, Boonlay, what's going on? What's your life? I said, what? What's your life? Try again. What's your life? I said, what's your life? What's your life? I said, what's your life? Well, that's deep, man. Especially before caffeine. What's your life? Wow. What's my life? Compared to what? Like compared to a tree? Are we talking about reincarnation or karma? Because I don't really do any of that stuff. Dick Cheney has proven to me there's no such thing as karma. So, I go, I missed a curve? I'm not driving. If I missed a curve, we would be off the cliff, right? You missed a curve! I went, I am Mr. Curve? You are Mr. Curve! I said, I'm Mr. Curve. Yes, when you go back to America, you can tell your friends that you were in a band that made many curves, and they can call you Mr. Curve! I said, fuck it, I have a new name, I'm now Mr. Curve! And so we pull over to the side of the road, and I go, what are we going to do now? Come with me! I said, okay. And so we leave the van, and we go into the woods. I'm like, what happens next? We'll see. And he walks up to a tree, unzips his zipper, and urinates on the tree, as we men are wont to do. And I'm like, well, what do you call that? He says, now we put the biologic to the tree. I said, God, this is amazing. I have to run back to the van, write it down in my notebook, run back. And I said, so what do you call taking down your zipper? And he says, we shoot the rabbit. I go, shoot the rabbit to put the biologic to the tree. Awesome. And so, I spent many, many wonderful days there. Every night, in any hotel you stay in Laos, at least in this time of the year, the insects come out. Gentle traveler, I warn you, no matter how you seal yourself in your room, the insects the size of biscuits will invade your room. On the 3rd night, I'm typing away in my laptop around midnight, and I hear what sounds like a cargo plane over my head. There's an insect with one of my socks in its mouth. Give me back my sock, you bastard! And I ended up killing these bugs in my room. That you have to stomp on them and scream like, ah! And the whole time the bug is on its back, legs frantically, and moving. And when you put your foot on the bug thinks you are trying to rescue it. And it's like, thank you for saving me. You can't kill it. And the whole time the bug shows nothing but gratitude. It hurts a little, but I know you're saving me. I know you like me. And that is America's foreign policy in one example. We're helping you! We're helping you! We know it looks like we're fucking your country up, but we're helping you! It's called democracy! And so anyway, Laos, land of mystery, land of bugs. And I went from there to Cambodia. And if you have a moment some summer, I encourage you to save your money and take a trip to Cambodia. At least go to Phnom Penh and walk through the killing fields and see all the bones and teeth in the soil and the clothes coming out of the ground. Because there's so many bodies still underneath the ground at the killing fields of Chiang Ek near Phnom Penh that year after year the winds and the rains move the soil around and the bones and the teeth come up to the surface. And so I went there with this tour guide, and he said, well, look around, tell me what you see. I see shallow graves with signs that says this is a shallow grave. There's a tree that goes like this, and there's a dip in the tree. And next to the tree there's a sign, and the sign says this is the killing tree, where they would take children by the ankles and swing their heads against the tree and kill them and throw them into that grave there. It's pretty heavy stuff. So I said, well, that's the killing tree. He was like, now look down on the ground. What do you see? And I go, I don't know, the ground. He goes, look closer. I keep looking. I said, what am I looking for? He goes, what's that? And I pick up this thing that's on the ground. It's like a corner or something. And I pull it out of the ground. It's a human rib. And I've never picked up a human rib off the ground before. And I didn't want to drop it, because that's like dropping somebody who died a very awful death. So I'm not like, ugh! I was like, what do I do? What do I do? He says, put it next to that tree over there. And there's a sign up on one of the trees that says, if you find a bone, please lean it up against this tree. We'll collect it later. And there's femurs and rib bones and all kinds of bones leaning up against this tree. And then there's all these boxes on sticks. And the boxes say, if you find any teeth or anything else, please put them in this box. We'll collect them later. And you walk by all these boxes, and there's teeth. And there's baling wire from when people's hands were tied. And there's bits of cloth that were used for blindfolds. And you walk through all this kind of clay, dirt, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, there's all this vegetation. Out of nothing, there's vegetation. So you're thinking, why is there vegetation there, but nowhere else around? Why? Because there's so many bodies under the soil that it promotes vegetation growth. And so if you look at the roots of the tree coming out of the ground, you'll see all the clothes and bones that is pulled out of the ground. And one tree, almost poetically, there's a beautiful floral print dress tied in with a man's button-up shirt, like the man and the woman were together by their clothes in death. And I stayed there for quite a while, looking at bones and listening, to the birds chirp in the trees. Because it's farmland. It's beautiful. It's hot. It's moist, and it's extremely pastoral. And the tour guide said, "You spent more time here than anyone I've ever taken out here. What the hell's the matter with you?" I said, "I'm not a weirdo. I'm not morbid. But I fly to these great distances so I can really understand man's brutality to fellow man, because I'm very sure that this is all preventable, so I want to see it. I'm not morbid. I want to know." And so we went back into Phnom Penh. I spent the rest of the afternoon at the S-21 prison, which is interesting to read about. And I noticed my tour guide is very, very quiet on the way back into Phnom Penh. I said, "You're a little bit quiet. Are you okay?" And he said, "Well, whenever I go out to the killing fields here, I get a little bit caught up." I said, "Because it's very sad what happened to all those people, over 18,000 people killed in that spot." And he said, "Well, the Khmer Rouge, Pol Pot, killed my mother." I said, "In that killing field?" He said, "No, we only found out last year that they killed her in the north of the country." I said, "Why did they kill your mother?" He said, "Because she was a teacher." I said, "Did they kill anyone else in your family?" He said, "Yes, my uncle, my mother's brother, was also killed." I said, "What about your dad?" He said, "My dad was also a teacher, but he was able to convince the Khmer Rouge he was nothing but a lowly cab driver, so they deemed him not very smart, and they allowed him to live." And look at the similarities of dictators and tyrants. Who do they hate? Smart people. They hate the elitists. That's what they call them. Barack Obama is an elitist because he's a smarty pants. Ooh, you're a book reader. And when you see how if you're willfully stupid in my country, you get laid. Women think you're a real fucking man. When you say something, "I don't know shit. Oh, my man is here. I got a big dumb fucking vehicle that I can't afford that wastes gas. And I wear my baseball cap backwards on my head. And I can't read good. I want to make babies with you." And I don't understand why these people breathe so prodigiously. And there's like 9 more little cretins all hanging around the fucking outhouse in Arkansas, waiting to go to Baghdad and eradicate the world of Al-Qaeda and liberals and progressives everywhere. And so this is my uphill battle.